What do you do when your community disappears? I have been online in some capacity since about 1993. I taught myself HTML and built myself a rudimentary and terrible page that was hosted by my school. It was exactly what you'd expect out of an extremely nerdy middle schooler in the early 90s, and I was extremely proud of it. I got on AOL in 1995, I discovered ICQ and IRC around 1997. I downloaded hundreds of MP3s, and eventually found many different online communities. One of those communities introduced me to Diaryland, which I used until 2002 when I opened an account with LiveJournal. I actively used that LiveJournal from 2002 to about 2013. I got a Facebook account in one of the earliest waves, but I didn't really start to use it much until 2008. Like most geriatric millennials, I had a MySpace. I opened a Dreamwidth account in 2009, and I cross-posted between there and LiveJournal until 2017, when something with LiveJournal crossed a Rubicon and I said, I'm out, forget it. I created a Tumblr account in 2010, but I didn't really start using it much until 2012. I left Tumblr in 2018 when the porn ban went into effect. And when that happened, I effectively lost the last place where I did any kind of blogging or message-based social interaction. I mean, I have Discord, and that really is where I spend most of my time these days, but it's just chat rooms. I do post to Dreamwidth still, but there's so few people there it feels like screaming into a void. And then there's Twitter. Wait, what's that? What's that? We're getting word. Elon Musk has purchased Twitter. Crap. Well, there goes that. As I just described, most of my time in those places overlapped each other. My presence in each new space was usually the result of the previous space becoming less active, and my departures were usually part of that same trend. In my time in each of these spaces, I cultivated quite the friends list. People I met through other friends, or who I met at parties or conventions, or through special interest communities, you name it. And each time I moved to the next space, I tried to bring as many of the people from the previous space with me to the next one. But there's never a 100% success rate, is there? No matter how hard you try, there's always someone who just sort of stopped posting along the way. And unless they go looking for you on some future platform, it's unlikely your paths will ever cross again.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Whole communities that had to find out. His wife? A horse. I watched DashCon attendees spend an extra hour in the ball pit.
All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
These days, it feels like the defining feature of spaces like Dreamwidth or LiveJournal is the ability to filter your posts. You can technically do something like this now on Facebook, but the functionality has changed several times, almost to the point of unusability. It's hard to create filters and use them when the UI keeps moving and changing, and it's even harder to make simple changes like adding or removing people from filters. The result is that on spaces like Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, there's no way to curate the audience for your posts. And pretty much whatever you say is just out there for anyone to read. There's no tailoring your audiences. Your cosplay friends get to see your rock climbing posts, and your roller derby friends get to see your shibari posts. But the point is that we went from spaces where we could make that decision, we could compartmentalize, to spaces where that's impossible, either by oversight or design. This kind of context collapse has caused catastrophic damage. Not to get too off topic or too deep on what really should be its own video, but not being able to curate who sees what content has led to the discourse. I'm referring to the phenomenon that is, in my opinion, the logical conclusion of a generation raised on if you see something, say something. Namely, if thing bad, thing shouldn't exist at all. I'm not the first or last person to make any kind of commentary on this, but I feel like it needs to be acknowledged. We now live in a world where tagging content is not enough. If a piece of content has an element that will be harmful to someone, that content should not exist. The person who created it and the people who consume it are bad and wrong and should be named and removed from the community. Which community? Yes, all of them. Everywhere. Forever. So, to lose spaces where you can pick your audience means you lose control over crucial things like context and nuance. Nuance. We don't know her. And so now, a particularly loathed oligarch has purchased Twitter. And this is one of dozens of inevitable takes about where do we go next. I wish I had a good answer, but I don't. Just like I didn't leave Facebook 5 or 10 years ago because there are too many connections from earlier points in my life that I don't want to lose, I also don't want to leave Twitter. It's where I've built a modest but not negligible following. It's where I've kept in touch with people. It's where I've worked out jokes and ideas. It's where I've promoted my work. The loss of community and continuity each time this happens is devastating. If T.S. Eliot marked out his life in coffee spoons, I've marked out mine in a breadcrumb trail of posts across a half a dozen social media platforms. Where do we go from here? Beats me, man. I'm still unpacking from the last move. Thanks for joining me on this idea. Maybe it'll be memeable, who knows. But I don't know where we'll put those memes, because fuck, who's gonna be on Twitter? If you liked this video and found it interesting, please be a polite werewolf and like and subscribe.